Hi, this is attorney Adam Sherwin. I'm a Massachusetts foreclosure defense attorney, and I wanted to speak to you today about tips on applying for a loan modification. A loan modification is a restructuring of a home mortgage loan with the goal of making the payments more affordable for the borrower, which can help avoid foreclosure. And it is really the most effective means of beating a foreclosure. So it's a very important part of the process. And the tips I'm going to give you are things I think are important to keep in mind when you go through and you work on a loan modification. Loan modification process can be very time consuming. It can be very frustrating. And these tips I think are very important to keep in mind when you do this part of the process. These tips are pretty obvious. I think there isn't going to be stuff here that's really mind-blowing, but I do recommend that you keep these things in mind just in hopes of avoiding any problems down the road and helping you try to get your modification as quickly as you can. All of this information is for informational purposes. None of this is legal advice. And certainly speak to an attorney if you have any questions about what to do or if you are in need of legal advice. The first tip, and this is probably one of the most important ones, is of course read the application instructions when you do a loan modification. You're going to find that the loan modification process requires a lot of very tedious steps, tedious parts of preparation. Very important thing often comes down with bank statements, providing bank statements. The server's going to usually want to see every page of the loan statement, even the blank ones. And it's very frustrating. It sometimes doesn't make sense why they want all these things. But when applying for a loan modification, more often than not, you do have to play by the loan servicer's rules. So read the instructions. Servicers are not going to hesitate to reject your application if something's missing, or they're certainly going to ask you to follow up it again, which is going to make the application process that much longer. So read all the applications very carefully before going forward. Showing proof of income is one of the most essential parts of trying to get a loan modification. Servicer is going to give you a modification. You need to prove to them that you have the income to do it. If you work for someone else, if you receive a pay stub, it's pretty easy. Or if you receive some sort of income assistance like Social Security, it's really just a matter of showing the pay stubs or the Social Security statement, and that'll usually be enough to get you to show the income. If you're self-employed or if you have rental income, it gets a little tougher because you need to show that you actually are receiving that income. Self-employed and rental income often requires a profit and loss statement, which shows the amount of income coming in and the amount of money that you spend to make that income. And most importantly, you have to show where that income is going, usually through a bank statement. If you're in a position where you have income but you can't show it, if you can't prove that you have it, in the loan servicer's mind, in their eyes, you don't have that income. So it's an important thing to keep in mind before beginning the process is that you need to have that income deposited into a bank account. You need to be able to show that it's there. And if you don't have that, you need to do that before you apply for the modification. And this is an area, if you are self-employed, you have rental income, and you're having difficulty kind of putting an application together on this, that's time where you might want to give serious consideration to speaking to a loan modification expert or even an accountant or CPA to help you put that together, because that proof of income is essential for a loan modification. Next thing, and this is almost just as important, you have to prove, you should prove that the loan servicer received your application in every part of every supplement that you sent. Loan servicers are notoriously sloppy with modification applications. It's not unusual for a loan servicer to deny that they've received your application or to deny that they've received every part of it. So you need to have proof of that. If you're going to send it by mail, use certified mail. If you're going to send it by fax, get a fax certification and follow up with the servicer. But having that proof that you sent it's going to be essential if you get to the point where you're not getting the help you need and you need to take further action. Be prepared to apply more than once. It's a very unfortunate reality that loan servicers often require people to go through this process several times. So if you put an application together, even if you think you have everything, the servicer may reject it just because they don't like the way it was put together, or they think something's missing, or it's downright a mistake on their part. But be prepared to apply more than once. If you're applying and it's taken more and more times and you're just not getting the results, then you should certainly speak to an attorney to discuss your next steps. But it's really just part of the course that it does take a couple of times to try to get a loan modification. Finally, and I think this is also one of the most important tips I recommend, create a log of your application attempts. Do a spreadsheet, do something in a notepad, note the date, note what you did, whether it be send in your application or your follow-up or followed up with the servicer. And just create a timesheet, like a timesheet and a log of all your attempts from start to beginning, and keep that on you. Because if you get to a point where you're not getting results and you find yourself in need of assistance from an attorney or from someone else, being able to show your entire process is going to be invaluable to whoever's helping you. And if you can show a pattern of misconduct, if you can show that they're not properly reviewing, you're going to have a much better chance down the line of possibly getting a modification.